sustainable living, a buzz phrase that I'm sure you've heard over and over again in recent years. And while many of us try to lead a sustainable life, the truth is old habits die hard. In fact, a recent poll found that while 84% of people say it's important to live sustainably, almost half of them admit they could be doing more to do that. Why then, as we watch our world collapse into catastrophic environmental ruin, aren't we doing everything we can to stop it? Well, 16% of people say it's the cost of sustainable living, while 15% say it's just understanding better what they could be doing. Enter Greenerguide, a solution that solves these issues by mapping out a user's energy consumption to plan a more sustainable lifestyle. Hello, I am your host, Mike Lake, and in today's preview, I will be talking with Joachim Broadbent, Managing Director of a sustainable smart city solution called Greenerguide.
Innovation, resiliency, discovery. Join Mike Lake, President and CEO of Leading Cities, as we explore the technologies shaping the possibilities of our future with a preview of tomorrow.
Hello and welcome, Joachim. I'm so happy and grateful for you to be joining us today. And thank you, of course, to all of our listeners and viewers for tuning into this episode of Preview of Tomorrow. Joachim, I'm really excited to introduce you to all of our listeners and viewers because, frankly, I think the issue we're going to talk about today affects all of us. So, Joachim Broadbent is the Managing Director at Greenerguide, which is a solution that provides a low-cost, effective plan to lead a more sustainable lifestyle. And really, who among us shouldn't be doing that? So before we dive into all of the nuances of what it means to live a sustainable lifestyle and how we can all be doing better, we want to get to know you a bit and know, why are you passionate about this? How did this become your career?
Sure. Well, thanks very much for that introduction. Yeah, I suppose, like most people, the idea of climate change and environmental collapse is something that I find, quite concerning, to say the least, kind of terrifying, if I'm completely honest. And, I really think that most people, given the opportunity and given the choice, they want to do the right thing, right? So they want to live a more sustainable lifestyle, a more green lifestyle. The problem is, though, that I think that most, taking that first step and becoming more green, it can often be prohibited by cost and time and awareness. And this isn't something which I think is right? We're all in this together. It's a phrase that gets thrown around a lot. There is only one Earth, there's only one beautiful blue ball in space. And we all need to take care of it. We all need to take responsibility. And so for me, creating a system that was going to really put power into people's hands and allow people to do the right thing and to take those first steps was something that was really important and something that motivated me quite a lot to try to find a solution that was going to work well for everyone.
Well, we're going to come back to that point in just a moment, but in the issue of sustainability and resiliency is something we talk a lot about here on Preview of Tomorrow. And so I think most of our listeners and viewers have a sense that this is real. We are, humanity is faced with a threat right now, and it's within our power, or needs to be within our power, to do something about it. I was just reading somebody's prediction or estimate that the world, in terms of achieving the 2030 goals, is on track to do so in somewhere around 2098. Yeah. It's a problem. It's a real problem. Yeah. But can you give me a sense, or all of us a sense, of why is that problem existing? Why are we so far behind, in the world on achieving something that's threatening all of us?
Yeah, well, I mean, to really answer that question, you would need many smarter people than me, and you would need way more than 15 minutes. But I think, if I had to, conceptualize it in a nutshell, it would be because there are too many opposing sides and too many sources of information, sources of truth. What is the right way forward? And that, can be seen on a political level, but, ignoring all of that, it can also be seen on a much more individual scale. If you want to be green, what's the best way of being green? Should I go for solar panels? Should I reduce my spending on this? Should I be going on less holidays? There are a myriad of ways that you can go green. And a lot of people can get quite a lot of what I call climate change fatigue, right? You get so much information and so much bad news that in the end you sort of become desensitized to the whole problem. And I think that is the kind of crux of many of the issues here. There's the issue appears to be so big and so insurmountable that being able to find the solution which is going to really help you make a positive impact can be very difficult. So if I had to put my finger on kind of one defining element that's really going to make a difference, I would say it's that. So it's all about simplifying it and putting it into terms that people can understand. What is my situation? What can I do to make it better? These are the things that we should all be looking at. We're all individuals, and there are certainly bigger problems afoot, like how can we change society as a whole to make these things? But I think each of us also have a personal responsibility, and by really focusing on our own individual responsibility, we can help push the greater agenda of a more sustainable way of living, faster and easier.
Well, as you know, Leading Cities' mission is to drive sustainability and resiliency for all by unlocking the potential of the world's cities. And the reason we focus on cities, and we say cities, although for us it could be a village. It's not talking about large cities only, but the reason we have that sense of community is because it's where people are. For the first time in human history, we now have more than 50% of the world's population living in an urban center. So there's a lot of people concentrated in small spaces, some larger geographies, but it doesn't make a difference no matter where we are. And correct me if I'm wrong, but no matter where we are, we have a role to play, because we are playing a role on the bad side, right? We are all guilty of worsening this problem in some way, shape, or form. And so we have to find ways to at least balance it, if not do better than that.
Sure. Yeah, we have to balance the scales, and we're all guilty of contributing in some way, shape, or form, no matter what we do. It's a sad but true fact of life. So yeah, definitely, we can all be doing things, and we should all be doing things. It's about finding the most impactful things that you can do, in my mind, that it's important.
And within constraints too, right? Like for some things we could be doing, it might cost us more money to do. For other things, like for instance, installing solar panels, like you mentioned earlier, some things it might not be a cost factor. It might in fact save us money, like you said, not going on an extra holiday and flying there. Cost is one thing, time, but there's also just an awareness, right? Like just what are the solutions? What are the options available to me? And this is really where figuring this out, which is, in my personal opinion, this is the biggest responsibility that every human on this planet has, is to figure this out for ourselves. What is our role going to be to mitigate the chances of an environmental catastrophe for this planet? And that's really where Greenerguide can guide us to be greener. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. So, what we really do is we provide the means to really help people adopt the most appropriate renewable energy source, or the most appropriate sustainable practices quicker. There is no one size fits all. Renewable energy isn't like a fridge or a toaster. Yes, they are appliances. Yes, they are technology. But often these types of technologies and these types of appliances, they require quite a lot of a kind of research and background information and knowledge. And this takes up a lot of time, it takes up a lot of money, it takes up a lot of experience. And in the end of the day, it can cause a real bottleneck, because there are only so many trained professionals who are able to do this. And getting those people's attention, say, hi, I want to do the right thing. I want renewable energy. What can I do? You're you're at the back of a very long line of people who are already asking them, I need help. I need this. I need that. And so that's a very small bottleneck that's causing a bit of an issue. And what we do is we try to expand the bottleneck by giving everyone free information, by giving everyone the resources that they need to make a more informed decision. We're trying to really open up the potential of kind of human goodwill, and let the people who have goodwill and let the people who want to make a difference do so without being prohibited by these bottlenecks, whether it's cost or time or what have you.
Well, you've got my attention now. Whether it's me or anybody else who's listening or watching, what's the first step for us? How do we engage Greenerguide?
Sure. Well, Greenerguide's actually available on a number of different websites throughout the UK. But the safest or the easiest option, I should say, is always just to go to our website, www.greenerguide.com. The way that it works is we push our users through a sort of questionnaire. And I've never really liked the word questionnaire because it sort of simplifies things to a more of a reductive state. But for all intents and purposes, in this case, it is a questionnaire. The technology behind the answers and the recommendations we give is very complex, but the questions that we're asking is very simple. And so there are about 20 questions throughout the questionnaire, and it takes typically about 5 minutes to answer. And we ask just a series of easy questions that have a load of simple tick box answers. And with those answers, our logic engine is really able to produce custom recommendations based off the information that we're gathering. And so we're really able to provide a unique, tailored recommendation based on each person's unique circumstances. So if people are interested in going to find what can I do, where can I go to get this information, go to www.greenerguide.com and fill in the questionnaire, which you can find there all over the website. And within about 5 minutes, you'll receive a personalized document stating what is suitable for you, what isn't suitable for you, the kind of impact that can be having, and most importantly, some of the costs and considerations that you're going to need to think about. And if all of that looks okay, then we can say, okay, if you're interested in pursuing this further, here is a person close to you who can help you.
Wow. So it is totally free for the user.
Yeah, completely free. As I mentioned, we want to remove all barriers to entry, right? So we want to make it simple so that anyone, regardless of their age group or demographic, can use it. It's free so that no one is restricted by a kind of paywall. And we've tried to make it as simple to use. So it's really just about making it accessible to everyone, so that everyone has the opportunity to do the right thing and to help out.
And you kind of touched on some of this, but what are some of the options that might be recommended for somebody?
Sure. Well, again, that all depends on budget. A lot of this stuff can be prohibited quite a lot by cost. So, it's like asking how long is a piece of string. It really depends on how much you've got to play with. At one end of the scale, if you have, just $100 or a few pennies rattling around in your pocket, there are loads of lifestyle changes that you can make, which aren't going to have a massive impact on the way that you have to live your day-to-day life, but can have a significant impact on your carbon emissions. On the other end of the scale, if you're a homeowner and you have a few grand to spend, there are many options that you can be investing in that are going to really make a significant impact on both yours, but your whole family's emissions. So you can make a better future for all of the family. There's a lot of in-betweens there. Those are two quite stark parallels, but there's a lot of room in the middle there to do good, regardless of your situation. And so we try to really plot out what are some things that you can expect to do, depending on their situation. But if you're going to hold my feet to the fire and say, Joachim, what are some of the things that we can expect from this questionnaire? Some of the answers could be, install solar panels, use a heat pump, consider getting an energy manager or a smart meter to monitor your energy usage. Definitely consider insulation. Consider maybe changing your diet to have a little bit less meat on one day a week or what have you. That there are so many different things that you can do. They vary a lot in impact and they vary a lot in the way that it's going to change your lifestyle. We try to give the most impactful ones that are going to have the biggest impact on your emissions, but the smallest impact on your day-to-day living and lifestyle. Because that's what people like, right? They big answers, easy solutions and quick things to difficult questions. And so we try to provide that easy step-by-step guide. Here are some things that you can think about and do until then.
Well, and that's the key to this is the ease of use and the potential impact that it can have for all of us. But I want, as I do with all of our guests, I want you to think 10, 20, 50 years into the future. And every person on the planet has or continues to use Greenerguide to identify ways that they can live a more sustainable lifestyle. What does it mean? How does that translate to the average person, to their community, or of course to the whole planet?
Well, our solution is automated, right? So that means it's completely scalable. What that means is that it doesn't matter how many people fill this in. There isn't a team of scientists working behind somewhere to try to take every single case by case. So what this means is if everyone on the planet has been using it, then we've helped millions or tens of millions, hundreds of millions, theoretically billions of people take those first tentative steps towards a greener future quicker. And we've helped them do that by saving them time and saving them money. So we've helped create a greener future. We've saved people potentially tens of thousands of dollars, and we've sped up the process at which people are going to adopt these, very necessary technologies and taking those future steps to doing the right thing.
In summary, I said earlier that we're all facing a serious threat, but really the greatest threat out there is the status quo itself, doing nothing. We all have an incumbent responsibility, if not duty, to do something, to be more sustainable. And we owe it not just to ourselves, not just to our children, but to our children's children's children, right? I mean, this is about generations to come, and we cannot leave this planet worse off than we found it. It might not survive if we do. So without sounding too hyperbolic here, what I love about Greenerguide is it makes this real. It empowers every one of us to take that first step or steps to really have a chance to make an impact and to save this planet. Listen, I can't thank you enough for the work you're doing. It is so critical to humanity, but it's so critical just to helping us get back on track to achieving our goals for the 2030 agenda and beyond. But I also want to thank you for taking the time. I know how busy you are. You've got a lot of people out there to get using Greenerguide. So thank you for joining us today on this episode of Preview of Tomorrow.
Thank you so much for having me. And if anyone has any more thoughts or questions, feel free to check out our website, www.greenerguide.com. Find out what you can do and send us an email, and we're always happy to try to help you take those next steps. Thank you very much, Michael.
And thank you for tuning in to this episode of Preview of Tomorrow. Listeners like you are essential to advancing our efforts to drive resiliency and sustainability for all. I ask that you give us a rating on Apple Podcasts or whichever streaming platform you prefer. Your feedback helps us to grow and share these brief previews of what life in the future can be. In addition to thanking our guest today, I want to thank Peter Roy and Demetria Bridges for making this podcast possible. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and encourage others to also join us each week in previewing the possibilities of tomorrow.
Preview of Tomorrow is brought to you by Leading Cities, a global nonprofit driving resilience and sustainability for all by unleashing the potential of the world's cities. Join them at leadingcities.org.